Tetanurans are defined as all theropods more closely related to modern birds than to Ceratosaurus and contain the majority of predatory dinosaur diversity. They likely diverged from its sister group, Ceratosauria, during the late Triassic. Tetanurae first appeared in the fossil record by the early Jurassic about 190 million years and by the Middle Jurassic had become globally distributed. Bahariosaurus was one of the giant theropods known from the Baharia Formation, alongside Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurids. It is likely the predators in the formation exhibited niche partitioning in order to avoid competition so that they could coexist in the same environment. The aforementioned estimations tend to put it at around 12 meters in length and 4 tons in overall weight. Monolophosaurus was approximately 5 meters long and weighed around 470 kilograms. It had a distinctive large crest on its snout, formed mainly by the nasal bones, which extended over much of the skull length. The skull, about 80 centimeters long, featured a triangular cross-sectioned crest with a flat upper surface. The skull and jaw bones displayed various pneumatic openings and grooves, indicating air-filled chambers. The lower jaw had unique features, including asymmetrical tooth counts and a distinct pattern of foramina and grooves. A Monolophosaurus specimen had its 10th and possibly 11th neural spines fractured. They are fused together. A series of parallel ridges on one of the specimen's dentaries may represent tooth marks. It is known from a nearly complete skeleton and was originally named a megalosaur, but it has also been described as many different groups. It also has been described as a basal tetanuran. A phylogenetic analysis suggested that Sauropods may have been a primitive member of the Megalosauroidea, making it the most basal known feathered theropod. This classification was supported by one of 3 initial analyses conducted by the scientists who described it. The exact position in the various analyses was difficult to determine due to the fact that the only known specimen is a very young juvenile. Sauropods is known from a single, exceptionally well-preserved holotype fossil, including a complete skeleton with fine soft tissue details. It is similar in size and proportions to the juvenile Juravenator but differs in several anatomical features. The skull is proportionally large, measuring 156% of the femur's length and longer than the cervical vertebrae. Its body proportions, short forelimbs, and regular tooth morphology suggest that the specimen is a very young, likely early post-hatchling individual. The skeleton shows no signs of fusion, further indicating its juvenile status. Piatnitzkysaurus is known from 2 partial skeletons, making it the most well-known theropod from the Middle-Late Jurassic of the Southern Hemisphere. It was a lightly built, medium-sized bipedal carnivore, around 4 meters long and 450 kilograms in weight, with robust arms and powerful hind legs. Its brain case resembles that of the megalosaurid Pivotosaurus, and it shares some primitive features with basal theropods, such as longer forelimbs and a wide pubis ischium contact. There are similarities between Piatnitzkysaurus and the theropod Allosaurus, though they differ in scapular blade length and other features. The brain case has been studied in detail, revealing unique features like the parasphenoid recess, which is an autapomorphy of Piatnitzkysaurus. Eustreptospondylus, like many other theropods, fed on smaller dinosaurs and pterosaurs, or scavenged the carcasses of fishes and marine reptiles. It might have foraged on shorelines for carcasses and marine life. It is known from a fossil from what was an island, at a time when Europe consisted mostly of archipelagos. This suggests that it might have been able to swim short distances. It has been considered a good swimmer, strong enough to swim from island to island like the modern-day Komodo dragon. Not all paleontologists agree with the swimming hypothesis. The opposing theories hold that the fossil of Eustreptospondylus was either swept out to sea during a flood after the animal died on the mainland, or it was carried to the ocean after it died in a river. It has been portrayed as a genus that evolved insular dwarfism. In 2000, David Martill and Darren Naish pointed out that the portrayal of the animal as an island-dwelling dwarf species was caused by not realizing that the holotype specimen represented a subadult. The main specimen was not fully grown, and was about 4.60 meters long and weighed about 200 kilograms. Various estimates suggest that Eustreptospondylus was an average-sized theropod, with a hypothetical adult length of around 6 meters. The family Megalosauridae, first defined by Thomas Huxley in 1869, has been controversial due to its history as a wastebasket for many poorly described or unidentified dinosaur remains. Initially, many large theropods were grouped in Megalosauria, but over time, most were reassigned, significantly narrowing the group's definition. Debate continues over whether Megalosauridae should be recognized as a distinct group, with some paleontologists, like Paul Sereno, dismissing it due to its uncertain phylogeny. However, recent research by Carano, Benson and Sampson support Megalosauridae as a valid family, closely related to Spinosauridae. Because the remains are sparse and fragmentary, most details about Magnosaurus' anatomical features are unknown. It would have been a bipedal carnivore of moderate size for a dinosaur. A Frovinator was a megalosaurid predator that is unique in that it came from Africa, not Europe. Specifically, it was found in the Tetanurae formation of Niger. It is known from one skeleton, and was about 7 to 8 meters long, and was a gracile predator. It had a rather flat and elongated skull. It is possible that a Frovinator is a basal spinosaurid, or related to the ancestor of that clade. It also had a very long humerus, giving it longer arms and a longer reach. There is a small maxillary fenestra, which does not reach the edge of the antorbital depression and is located behind a promaxillary fenestra. The lacrimal bone has a distinctive rounded horn on top. The jugal bone is short, deep and pneumatized. The teeth wear distinctive proximodistally subrectangular distocentral denticles and a sigmoidal shape in distal view, seen also on Torvosaurus. Dubrullosaurus was yet another megalosaurid, found in the conformation in France. It had a very long and narrow skull, the length 3 times the height of the skull. It lacked any sort of crest or horns, and though uncovered at an island it did not show the effects of insular dwarfism. Like with Eustreptospondylus, its small size is due to its being a subadult. It lived on a cluster of islands, like all European theropods, and it might have hunted fish and other marine prey as it was found in sediments that indicate it lived in coastal mangrove swamps. It also was found with fish remains. Its long skull would have allowed it to catch fish in the water easier, giving it extra reach. Megalosaurus was the first dinosaur to be scientifically described and named. In 1824, William Buckland, a British geologist, formally described the genus, making it the first dinosaur recognized by science. This discovery laid the groundwork for the entire field of paleontology. The term dinosaur didn't exist when Megalosaurus was first discovered. It was coined later in 1842 by Richard Owen, who used Megalosaurus, along with Iguanodon and Hylaeosaurus, as examples of this new group of terrible lizards. Early reconstructions of Megalosaurus were based on limited fossil evidence, leading to some imaginative and often inaccurate depictions. Initially, it was reconstructed as a quadruped with a body resembling a giant lizard, a far cry from the bipedal, predatory dinosaur we understand today. In the 1850, life-sized models of Megalosaurus were built by sculptor Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins for the Crystal Palace Park in London. These reconstructions, though outdated by modern standards, were among the first attempts to visualize dinosaurs and captured the public's imagination, contributing to the early popularity of paleontology. Modern scientists were able to obtain a more accurate picture, by comparing Megalosaurus with its direct relatives in the Megalosauridae. It was about 6 meters long, weighing about 700 kilograms. It was bipedal, walking on stout hind limbs, its horizontal torso balanced by a horizontal tail. Its forelimbs were short, though very robust. Megalosaurus had a rather large head, equipped with long curved teeth. It was generally a robust and heavily muscled animal. Living in what is now Europe, during the Jurassic period, Megalosaurus may have hunted stegosaurs and medium-sized sauropods. Repeated descriptions during the 19th and early 20th century of Megalosaurus hunting iguanodon through the forests that then covered the continent are now known to be inaccurate, because iguanodon skeletons are found in much younger early Cretaceous formations. The study of fossilized Torvosaurus embryos offers insights into dinosaur embryonic development, reproductive behavior, and potential parental care. In 2013, a clutch of eggs and embryonic material attributed to Torvosaurus was discovered in Portugal, supporting the idea that large theropods were oviparous, laying eggs that developed outside the body. These fossils are significant as they represent the most primitive and only known basal theropod embryos, and they provide the first evidence of a one-layered eggshell for theropods. The eggs were likely buried for incubation, similar to modern sea turtles, as suggested by their porous shells and the geological context. Torvosaurus was one of the largest predators of the late Jurassic and the largest known theropod from Europe. It was estimated to be 10 meters long and 5 tons in weight, and it is possible that it was even larger. It had short, strong forelimbs, and a fairly elongated and narrow snout. Torvosaurus coexisted with other large theropods such as Allosaurus or Ceratosaurus. These species appear to have had different ecological niches, based on anatomy and the location of fossils. Torvosaurus and Ceratosaurus may have preferred to be active around waterways and had lower, more sinuous, bodies that would have given them an advantage in forest and underbrush terrains, whereas Allosaurus had shorter bodies, longer legs, were faster and less maneuverable, and seem to have preferred dry floodplains. Wiehenvenator is a megalosaurine that was actually in the public eye long before it was officially described. Known as Monster von Minden, it was excavated from the Ornithischian Formation in Germany from 1998 to 2001, and its discovery sent a flurry of interest through the paleontological community. The reason for this being its size, it was speculated to be as long as 15 meters in length, making it one of the larger known carnivores from the Jurassic. However, upon its description, that size has been majorly rolled back to somewhere around 9 meters in length. Still, it is one of the largest known European theropods, which is especially interesting given the archipelago status of Europe at the time it was alive. Most of the time, insular conditions force dwarfism for animals. It is known from portions of the skull and skeleton, and it may have been a subadult, indicating that as an adult it would have grown even larger. Spinosaurids were large bipedal carnivores characterized by their crocodile-like skulls, which were long, low and narrow, with conical teeth that had reduced or absent serrations. Their jaws featured a distinctive spoon-shaped tip with a notch for the lower jaw, and their nostrils were positioned further back on the head than in most other theropods. They had bony crests along the midline of their skulls and robust shoulders with stocky forelimbs, featuring an enlarged claw on the first digit. Some Spinosaurids had elongated neural spines on their vertebrae, forming a sail or fatty hump on their backs. Iberospinus represents one of 5 known Spinosaurid taxa from the Iberian Peninsula. It is important for its implications of the geographical origin of Spinosauridae and the suggested presence of potentially semi-aquatic lifestyle earlier in the evolution of this clade. Almost all toothed theropod dinosaurs had exactly 4 teeth on each of their premaxillary bones, the paired bones at the very tip of the upper snout. The semi-aquatic Spinosaurids were an unusual exception to this, with 6 or 7 teeth per premaxilla, and one particular member of this lineage seems to have been just a little bit weirder. Baryonyx had distinctive enlarged curving claws on the first fingers of its hands, along with a long narrow snout with a rosette at the tip followed by a notch, a shape convergent with the jaws of modern pike conger eels. And that premaxillary rosette had a strangely asymmetrical arrangement of teeth. Baryonyx was the first dinosaur discovered with direct evidence of a piscivorous diet. Fossilized fish scales and partially digested bones were found in its stomach region, providing clear insight into its feeding habits. Its anatomy, including its powerful forelimbs, crocodilian snout and retracted nostrils, suggests it may have led a semi-aquatic lifestyle, hunting both on land and in water, similar to modern crocodiles. The holotype specimen, which may not have been fully grown, was estimated to have been between 7 and 10 meters long and to have weighed between 1 and 2 tons. Living during the early Cretaceous of the Republic of Niger, Suchomimus was a close relative of the smaller and slightly older Baryonyx. It was one of the larger spinosaurs, reaching about 10 meters in length, although it's mainly known from the remains of a subadult, and fully grown individuals may have been slightly larger. It had lengthened neural spines along its back, tallest over the hips and base of the tail, forming a low sail or ridge. These spines, along with its similarity to Baryonyx, helped to properly define the Spinosauridae family in the late 90s and gave the then poorly known Spinosaurus its familiar crocodilian snout in reconstructions instead of the old generic theropod with a sail look. We also know from a fossil trackway in Spain, probably belonging to a Baryonyx, that Spinosaurs had webbed duck-like feet, and were capable swimmers. Ichthyovenator is estimated to have been between 8 to 10 meters long. Its teeth were straight and conical, and its neck resembled that of the closely related genus Zygomasosaurus. Like others in its family, Ichthyovenator had tall neural spines that formed a sail on its back. Unlike other known Spinosaurids, its sail had a wave-like shape that curved downwards over the hips and divided into 2 separate sails. It was initially thought to belong to the subfamily Baryonychinae, but more recent analyses place it as a primitive member of the Spinosauridae. Its diet likely mainly consisted of aquatic prey, hence its etymology. Spinosaurids are also known to have eaten small dinosaurs and pterosaurs in addition to fish. Ichthyovenator's conspicuous sail might have been used for sexual display or species recognition. The vertebral spines of Ichthyovenator's tail were unusually tall, suggesting, as in today's crocodilians, the tail may have aided in swimming. The name irritator reflects the frustration experienced by paleontologists who studied its fossil. The specimen was tampered with by fossil dealers who elongated the skull with plaster to make it appear more valuable, causing significant irritation for scientists when they discovered the modification. It is one of the first spinosaurids discovered in Brazil. Its discovery provided crucial insight into the distribution of spinosaurids in Gondwana during the early Cretaceous. The holotype was initially thought to belong to a pterosaur due to its elongated snout, but further study revealed it to be a spinosaurid theropod. This initial confusion highlights the challenges paleontologists face in identifying fragmentary fossils. Though not as prominent as in Spinosaurus, Irritator might have had slightly elongated neural spines, indicating the possibility of a small sail or hump. Recent studies have revealed that Irritator had jaws that were more flexible and capable of expansion, similar to those of modern pelicans. This adaptation would have allowed Irritator to scoop up and hold prey, particularly fish, in its jaws, suggesting a more specialized feeding strategy than previously thought. The discovery was supported by biomechanical analyses of Irritator's skull and jaw structure, which showed that its jaw could open wider and with greater flexibility compared to other theropods. Zygomasosaurus had highly rugged bony structures on the bottoms of its cervical vertebrae, which may suggest the presence of substantial neck musculature. This strong neck musculature could have helped the dinosaur quickly snatch fish from the water, similar to modern birds and crocodilians. However, a more thorough biomechanical analysis is needed to confirm this hypothesis. In the Cenomanian of northern Africa, several large theropods coexisted, raising questions about how these predators shared the same environment. The coexistence of these large theropods might have been facilitated by niche partitioning, similar to the way different predator species coexist in modern ecosystems like the African savanna. Recent studies have reinforced the idea that Spinosaurus was highly adapted to an aquatic lifestyle. In 2014, a new reconstruction of its skeleton revealed that it had dense, compact bones similar to those of modern aquatic animals, which would have helped it stay submerged while hunting in water. In 2020, a groundbreaking study revealed that Spinosaurus had a unique tail structure, unlike any other known dinosaur. Its tail was long, flexible, and paddle-like, allowing it to propel itself through water. This discovery provided strong evidence that it was a proficient swimmer, making it the only known non-avian dinosaur with such adaptations. Fossil evidence, including teeth marks on fish bones and Spinosaurus teeth found in riverbeds, strongly suggests that it was a piscivore, primarily feeding on large fish. Its long, crocodile-like snout, conical teeth and retracted nostrils were ideal for catching and holding slippery prey. Spinosaurus is currently considered the largest theropod dinosaur. Estimates based on recent fossils suggest that it could have grown up to 17 meters long and weighed up to 8 tons, making it the largest known carnivorous animal, after cetaceans. The function of the large sail on its back, formed by elongated neural spines, remains a subject of debate. Some theories suggest it was used for thermoregulation, while others propose it served as a display structure for attracting mates or intimidating rivals. Its role in swimming, if any, is still uncertain. It lived in what is now North Africa, in a vast river system during the Cretaceous period. This region, known as the Kem beds, was a lush, water-rich environment where Spinosaurus likely dominated as an apex predator. The original fossils of Spinosaurus, discovered by German paleontologist Ernst Stromer in 1912, were destroyed during World War II. However, renewed interest and subsequent discoveries, especially in the 21st century, have allowed paleontologists to reconstruct much of its anatomy and understand its ecology. Spinosaurus was traditionally depicted as a biped, but in the mid-20th century, it was occasionally portrayed as an obligate quadruped. The idea of Spinosaurus being a quadruped gained traction in the 70s and was supported by the discovery of Baryonyx, a relative with strong forelimbs. In 2014, new fossil evidence suggested that Spinosaurus had much shorter hind limbs, leading to the proposal that it was poorly adapted for bipedalism and may have been an obligate quadruped on land. However, this hypothesis has been met with skepticism, and later studies, including a 2024 article by Sereno, suggested that Spinosaurus was likely a slow-moving biped rather than a quadruped. The debate over its posture continues, with different interpretations based on fossil evidence. Oxalea is another giant spinosaurid from the Alcantara Formation in northeastern Brazil. It is known from bone fragments and teeth, and it was estimated to be 12 to 14 meters long and 5 to 7 tons in weight, making it the largest theropod from Brazil. Though still smaller than Spinosaurus, it was still one of the larger spinosaurids known. Spinosaurids likely spent most of their time near or in water and fed mostly on aquatic animals, avoiding direct competition with other large predators but being able to sustain themselves on terrestrial animals if necessary. Such behavior is observed in cases such as juvenile iguanodontid bones found in the stomach cavity of a Baryonyx fossil and an irritator tooth embedded in pterosaur remains. The conical, transversely oval-shaped teeth of Oxalea and its nasal openings, that were retracted further back on the skull than in most theropods, likely to avoid water entering its nostrils while fishing, are characteristic of Spinosaurids.